Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk about new houses and old houses, the code change, and how do you determine a true price. Lots of my friends ask me that, oh, the house built in 2005 is 3,000 square feet and that's only $1 million, whereas the house built now for 3,000 square feet is $1.5 million. Oh, look how much money somebody made. With all due respect, they don't know how to compare apple to apple. So before I go further in detail, and this is going to be a very important and eye-opening discussion for you, my request is to subscribe, like, forward, discuss, and share with other people so we continue doing what we're doing. So why the house built in 2005, let's suppose 3,000 square feet, is around $1 million, whereas the house built in 2024 is $1.5 million. Why such a big difference? I'm only giving an example for certain area. Of course, it depends on area to area. So let me give you a few reasons. The fundamental structural difference in house built in 2005 and built in 2024. It doesn't have to be 2005. Any time difference can be compared, but I'm only giving just one time difference, like about a 20-year difference. 20-year-old house is not a very old house. It's a still very beautiful, livable house, but I just want to give you certain understanding so you understand that what is the basic difference, or is it just the price increase because of the economy? There is an economic effect as well, but it's not all. The cost of building a house today is totally different than the cost of building house in near 2000, 2005, 2010. And the cost of building is different not because just the labor cost, not just because of the material cost, but what kind of material could you use to build a house. So I give you, especially in the United States, in each state or each region, the codes change. So there are building codes. Almost every country has building codes. Some has more stricter than others. So in United States, for example, in different states, there is a universal, there's international business code, and there is a state level business code. And then there are city codes and there are energy codes. So all these codes get reviewed and get stricter. And hence the type of material you can use to build a house is totally different. I'm going to give you an example. Like in 2005, the wall thickness, required wall thickness was only 2x4. Yes, you heard me right. It was 4-inch wall. Now it has to be a 6-inch wall. So 50% difference in thickness of wall. Now, before you could use bats as an insulation, it was a much thinner bat. Now, slowly it became a thicker bat. And then again, because the energy code is changing, it requires a lot more stringent, and it minimizes the wastage or maximize the efficiency. Nowadays, if you use the bats, you may not even meet the code. For example, you could have a hertz rating of 70 just 10 years ago. Then it became a time when you have to have 60, then 50. And now it's like 40. Lower the rating, more energy efficient the house is. More energy efficient the house is, thicker the wall, better the insulation, better the windows. Every single doors, every single thing has to change because of the energy efficiency. Like I just told, you could use 4-inch wall. Now it has to be 6-inch wall. Now you cannot use the same insulation you used to use. Then you cannot use the same window you used to use. Even the difference between a year before and now, the window rating has to be different. And then the leakage in the house. You could have 10% leakage in the house in 2005 and the house will pass. Now, if you have even above 3%, the house will not pass and you will not get occupancy permit. So most houses nowadays built, they hardly have 2% leakage. They pressurize the system and test it. So if you are more than 2.5% and 3% and above, you cannot get an occupancy permit. Likewise, if your hertz rating is more than 42, can get the occupancy permit. Also, there was no ERV system, the continuous recycling of the air. It used to be just there was really nothing in 2005. And later on, there was a code that you could just put a one bathroom fan that would run continuously, 724 quietly, and that will take care of your fresh air. But now it's not the case. You need to have ERV system, which add another $5,000. And maybe in the future, it will be more than one ERV system. There was no electric cars before. Now there are electric cars everywhere. So now you need to have provision for electric car charger in the garage. There were many other things for energy efficiency, which were not there before, are also the fossil fuel. Now, states are getting rid of the fossil fuels and getting more and more cleaner energy, so to speak. And what is that cleaner energy now? They're calling either electric or solar. So now there are HVAC system has to change completely. Talk about heating, ventilation, air conditioning system. HVAC system totally have to change. And it is not changing like 10 years before, 10 years now. Forget about 20 years. It is changing like every year. Every year the code is changing, and now you basically have more and more stringent code. So now of course you need to bring in more energy efficiency in the HVAC system. People used to use 70%, 80% efficient furnaces. Now you have to use more than 95%. And then if you have to build 95% plus efficiency in the heating unit, then the heating unit has to be enclosed by the insulated walls. So in the attic, when you do a mechanical room, you need to insulate that room. And then you also have to use geothermal energy, solar energy. Every house nowadays require, if you have facing of northeast or east, you require to have provision for solar system. Don't have to put a solar system today, but you have to have a provision for it, space for it. Likewise, fossil fuel, like I said, you could use gas. A lot of people like natural gas. If natural gas is not available, they want to use propane. But now they want to go more on electric and solar energy. So hence, your HVAC system is going to completely change. The cost is going to completely change. Now, first they went to more efficiency, even in the fossil fuel. And now they're talking about double fuel system. You have electric and fossil fuel, and then maybe you will have only electric or solar. And then if you are talking about fossil fuels and electric, you could put especially dryer and ovens and fireplaces. You could have put gas fireplace and gas dryer and gas oven. No more. You could still do it, but you have to provide electric connection as well. So there's a cost. You have to run 220 electric and you have to run the gas line. Double the cost. So there are lots and lots of things in building the house where you have to worry about all those elements. So what's going to happen? It is fixed cost, upfront cost versus operating cost. So a lot of buyers, when they go out to buy, because they are stretched, they like to see what is the price of the house without looking into what will be the operating cost of the house. Because if your energy bill was $500 a month, now it will be $200 a month. So it's a big difference in energy cost. Likewise, if your longevity of the house was 20 years, for example, for the roof or the windows, now it's 30 years. So your longevity and your energy rating, your operating cost is much different now. So you have to look at the total cost of ownership and living the house. So likewise, there are other things in that same equation, that the windows, if you bought a 20-year-old house, now it's about a time to replace the windows. It's about the time to replace the roof. It is also about the time to replace air conditions. It's about the time to replace heating system. And speaking of air condition and heating system, they are about 20-year age, and now they used to have much lower rating as well. Now they have a much higher rating. So all these materials cost a lot more. So it's not just the economic factor and higher labor cost, but it is really the higher standards, higher living standards and higher material standards for higher efficiency. So you got to take a look at those things when you are buying a house, and you not only look at the fixed cost, but the operating cost as well. If you're buying a house for $1 million, and if you have to change the kitchen, you have to change the counters, you have to change the cabinets, you have to change the windows. Nowadays, people use grays and whites colors instead of being off-white and cream colors and all that. So there is just the siding, the roof, the windows, the doors. Look how many things you have to worry about if you're buying an older house versus a newer house, plus your operating costs will be much higher. So there are a lot of other things we can talk about, like for example, it all's about that what is the volume of the house built? Where is the garage? A lot of old houses have split entry. A lot of old houses have lots of old stuff. I'm not even talking about more than 20. If you go 60, 70-year-old house, then you're talking about a lot of other factors like the lead paint, like the lots of other leakage problem, a lot of other water problem, a lot of other mold problem, lots and lots of issues. But again, if you're buying a house, you gotta look at not just the fixed cost per the operating cost. And then in operating cost, the other very important factor is the tax. A lot of time people look at the schools, but they don't look at the tax. I mean, for example, we live in Shrewsbury. Our tax rate is $13. Just across the street in Northborough, Southborough, Westborough, it's double, almost double. So you don't look at that you have to pay $24,000 a year instead of $13,000 a year for $1 million house. So you got to look at all those things. We will be keep looking at things for you and educating you, and let's keep discussing and keep coming with your new ideas, your questions, so we make more videos. Till then, stay healthy.